About $25,000 a bridge to replace the planking and to replace the railing. That's what you're really looking
Yeah,
at.
I thought we had already determined
Yeah.
that and we even voted on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll bring
Just my
the,
faulty brain.
The number I remember is a lot higher than that.
Well, that had to do
He said
resin
per each.
versus wood.
yes, this
Per
is
each.
resin.
Okay.
This is the resin, but it's not the boardwalk. The expensive item was the boardwalk,
Right.
which was $340,000.
Right.
If you look at the engineer's report, you look at the boardwalk as it is today. It does show wear, but it needs some maintenance. So we'll continue the maintenance program. But the bridges are in need of repair. Those need some work.
And
Especially
will be this composite material?
Yes,
All right, when you say you had 3 contractors that
Yes.
bid on that,
yes,
what type of composite, can you put that in your proposal, or at least
Yes.
let me know?
yes,
All right.
I will let you know.
Any other further questions or comments for Scott? Scott, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We're on to Rado sidewalk status. Joe, you want to
Well,
up on that?
we got the sidewalks and the driveways all to code,
Hooray!
which is about as much as we could do. When they came back and did the landscaping, I didn't have it in my yard. And I know one guy already started to dig his up to redo it. They just threw the grass down and left. And the grass was what was from other job sites that was lying around in some cases. The grass is 3 inches higher than the driveway, so everything's gonna be.
But the
running.
sidewalks are okay.
But the sidewalks fit the code. They can drive their cars up the driveways after they were rebuilt. So we got as much done out of that as we could. And the city inspector, as I had stated before, was really the guy that pushed it. And I'd like to, now that we're finished with it, write a letter to Gail Anthony and to Saeed and just
Give them an
thank them
attaboy.
for their
Yep.
effort
Yeah.
and
Okay.
point this man out.
Okay.
And I'll do that and send it to you to look at.
Okay, sounds good.
Excellent.
Any other questions of Joe on that subject? Okay, the next one is reclaimed water. This is a subject that it impacts us. It probably is something that the Master Association ought to be actually taking the lead on, but we don't see them taking the lead. They don't seem to be doing very much, answering a lot of the questions and finding out a lot of the things that are gonna happen in reclaimed water, and it will impact us because, you know, we're part of the irrigation system. So.
And there's not an ad hoc committee in the Alliance doing it
Hmm?
or anything? There's not a
No,
group in the Alliance?
no. So I had asked Joe to at least grab the ball at this point, which he has done. And I think it's worth us trying to at least drive this process so that we find out what the heck's going on here, because there are a lot of unanswered questions that we want to know about. So,
But I'm putting them in groups here.
okay.
This should be a copy for everybody. I talked with David Caldwell months ago,
Please.
and he was very
Each of these go
friendly.
to-
Yeah, you know,
Very-
one each.
I think there's one missing, but this is the critical report. I talked with David Caldwell after a master HOA meeting,
Yeah.
and he said, "Oh, geez, I'm glad to hear they're gonna do it." And I said, "Would you be willing to work with us and go down to City Hall and talk to them and find out what the parameters are?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "You know, you got a pipe already run in through the community and so forth." So I then sent him a letter to just confirm all that, and he called me back and said, "You know, Lennar's a really big company, there's a lot of people that need to be involved with this, and it'll be months before I get back to you with an answer." One of the things I put in my letter was, is there any funds that have been set aside for this? That probably was the red flag. Yesterday, I had a meeting with the city engineer, Bill Porter, and also Richard, the city utilities manager, came in and just talked briefly with us. But Bill Porter was a wealth of knowledge. I tried to talk to him on the phone, and this guy, I mean, he's going a mile a minute. I couldn't keep up with him on the telephone, so I went down and we had an hour-plus meeting. And I've given you a report of my meeting, it's 4 pages long, but the bottom line is, we're gonna have to sign an agreement with the city. It's gonna be a legal agreement, gonna have to have lawyers involved with it. Bill said the city is gonna run a pipe, or already has a pipe going down tree line. They're gonna knock on the door one day with a package and say, here, you gotta connect. That's all they do. We're gonna have to run a pipe from Pelican Preserve, from wherever the pipe is that David Caldwell said exists, out to the street. We're gonna have to pay to dig the street up. We're gonna have to pay to get permits. We're gonna have to get a construction company. We're gonna have to get the fitting that goes into the pipe. We're gonna have to supply a meter at that point. We're gonna have to supply a backflow valve
So
at
we
that
gotta
point.
put the meter in? That's-
We
No,
have to pay for all that.
We, in this case, would be doing it through, I assume, the Master Association.
I would assume they have to be involved with it.
Oh, I think they're the ones that have to actually.
But as Phil said, the Master Association is still run by Lennar.
Have you discussed this at all with Rich Rittenberg? He's our
No,
representative
what-
on the.
What Phil and I basically talked about was, let's find out what we're dealing
Sure.
with. We have
I
no
understand.
idea.
Yeah.
So yesterday was really, I've gotten nowhere with Lennar after initially they were gonna be cooperative.
Well, they were until it cost them money.
Well,
Potential.
and that's an interesting thing, because Bill Porter said initially when this was agreed to, they may have set up a fund to help pay for this, because they had no idea when this might have happened. It could have happened 5 years ago, it could have happened last year. It was just when the city had the water available, so Lennar had to be prepared to do this. But now that they're coming into turnover, if they can get the turnover done before this happens, they might just say, well, we had a fund, but we haven't told anybody about it.
When
So-
do you anticipate this happening? I mean, you're
Richard,
looking at,
Richard cannot give me a firm date. They're
Could it
saying
be-
within the year.
it could be within a
It could
year.
be within the year.
And they're still on the hook. I would suggest that Rittenberg and/or Kawabrookie will be great words. This is not a new item, Jim. This has been hanging out there for
Oh, yes,
years.
yes.
Well, that was
May
something-
be part of the DRI. So I would think they would have a lot more robust background to help guide this group.
Well, and I think that's where we want to go. I think
Yeah.
what I did was the preliminary work,
Yeah.
just to get an idea. And I put a lot of detail into the report that I've given to you, and we don't want to go through all that. But the bottom line is, we're going to end up dealing with consulting engineers. We're going to end up dealing with the.
Well, I would correct your language, someone. And it should be
Well, when
Lennar.
I say we, I mean Pelican Preserve.
Lennar.
Community will be dealing with an engineering firm, they'll be dealing with a contractor, they'll be dealing with the South Florida Water Management District. The pond is an issue, the pipe that's in there is an issue, that's gonna have to be tested, that may have to be
But I don't
completely
think we're
replaced.
building the railroad.
We
I
are
think the
not-
tracks are there,
Oh, yeah,
and you just gotta find out where
yeah.
the responsibility is. And I believe it's gonna be Lennar.
And one of the things that Joe and I agreed is that there are a lot of interested parties in the
Absolutely.
situation, and we've got to keep them all hooked in.
Yeah, because this isn't new. This is really old
Well,
business. It's
and-
now coming from.
And I think it's very important to get Carol in the loop.
Absolutely.
Because there's a community, I don't know whether it was Marina Bay or Botanica, somehow Marina Bay comes to mind first. But the city actually tried doing this with Marina Bay, and their rates just shot up tremendously, and somehow they struck some kind of a deal with the city, where the city paid for a lot of the stuff that I think Joe was talking about. We or the builder would have to.
Somebody might be able to get that leverage. Bill Porter's comment was, we have a pipe running down the tree line, that's all we're doing.
Well-
You take care of the
wait a
rest
minute,
of
we
it.
have a pipe already
The
there?
city line, yes.
The city
put
put
a
it in.
pipe
City has a
going
pipe.
down tree line.
And it's a dead pipe that's been there for over
That-
18 years.
Joe,
Waiting.
that I can't.
Waiting for this
Actually,
pump station.
actually, Colonial Country Club is using reclaimed water from the city. They've already gone through this. So
Right.
they're getting water from that pipe right now. And they
We have been
connect it
waiting
to-
for the pump station to be built. And it
It's
took a
not
capital
really-
project for the city of Fort Myers and all this
And
other
there's
stuff.
been no definitive point when the pump station's going to be built.
Correct. It's always been in the future.
Yeah, Well, the water will come in and it just gets dumped into the pond. It's just a pipe that runs into the pond. There's no real pressure, it's a free fall. And that water will fall into the pond. The South Florida Water Management District then determines how we can use the well, if we can use it at all, or how much we can use. Because they
What
won't
is
mix-
this pond number, do you know?
It's the one in the golf course.
It's the
Okay,
one that we don't
that's
know.
bond
We don't know
22,
it.
the one we have not.
We have not,
That's the golf
we don't
course.
know.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
Well,
And they use that
that's-
to irrigate the golf
Wanted to make
course.
sure.
Well, they use it to irrigate the whole system,
Everything, right.
everything.
But right now, is my understanding correct? Right now, the water doesn't, the well water doesn't cost us anything.
That's my understanding
That's,
was
that's,
we were
that's a
using.
free, that's a
pond
freebie. Now, we have costs to do irrigation because there's the whole irrigation control system and the satellites and all the rest of that stuff. And assumedly, that stuff would stay the same, all the other stuff. We would just be paying for the water, but we don't know that.
It depends how you're going to deal with it, because you have a golf course that's going to consume water, and they're gonna have to pay for their share. Residents will have to pay, the town center,
Exactly.
the sales center, if that's still being run by Lennar before this happens.
You're gonna
And
have turnover before this occurs.
We
Well,
may
about
have
the same
turnover,
time.
and if we
You
have
are.
turnover.
No,
Lennar
we're
will-
not.
I don't agree, I'm with Phil, we will not be turned over when this is
I mean,
done.
this is gonna occur.
You think it's gonna
This
occur-
occur reasonably soon?
In the next 15 months.
Yep.
All right,
We need to know what
does
Lennar.
Tree Line now have reclaimed water for their irrigation?
I understand it. Tree Line has a pipe coming down, or there's
Does
a pipe
Tree
down.
Line use their, I mean, because they irrigate Tree
Colonial
Line.
Country Club uses all city reclaimed water.
Okay.
That's their entire thing. They were shut off from their well. They're not allowed to use the well anymore, so they can't supplement it. All the water they use for irrigation is supplied by the city.
Does anybody know how this affects our well?
No.
You
It
say
may
how
shut
well,
it
what
off.
are you talking
I
about?
mean, the existing,
The existing well may be shut off. It might be reduced how much we can use from it, from what Bill Porter said. I know the well over in Colonial Country Club was shut down. Southwest Florida Water District told them, you're just using reclaimed water, period. They've had to reline their pond twice. Bill Porter was very, very adamant about the fact that we make sure our pond meets all the original drawing specifications. Depth,
It's not ours.
size, clear.
and it will
Well,
never be ours.
what-
Okay, we know enough to know we don't know enough to talk about
That's
this.
Yes,
exactly right.
Exactly.
Exactly, that's what
That's
about.
exactly.
Let's find out the
And Jo-
background
and
with
Jo-
Carol.
And John, to your point about the pipe being in the ground for 18 years and unused, that's not true of the tree line pipe, but it is true of the pipe going from tree line to the pond.
Right.
Right.
It's been sitting in the ground for 18 years, never used. We don't know what that one
I mean,
looks
is it
like.
plastic or is it,
I have
nobody
no
knows.
idea.
We gotta find that out.
Well,
You really do.
Somebody knows it, we just don't.
Bill is going to send me a hookup for the Colonial Acres, or Colonial Country Club, the paperwork and
There's a
documents.
drawing of Pelican preserve pipe.
Try to get one. I'm working on that.
Porter wouldn't know
Joe,
that.
don't get too involved in the engineering, just get the knowledge gathering.
Well.
Make the assumption
That's
that
what
we're
I'm-
just trying to find out what Lennar's doing, and leave it at that.
Well-
What is Lennar gonna do? The monkey is on them,
Right.
it's not on us.
Well, the answer to that is David said they're a big company and they're working on
That
it.
doesn't mean that's still, they still may be doing it.
RWA drawings
Yeah.
may just have that pipe on it. Do you still have those drawings?
I have some of them,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's a information that's available to us. His
We
name
can
relate back
dig
to
it
the
up.
DRI.
We can dig it up.
If you look at Joe's letter, he's got some considerations, questions, if you will, things that we gotta look at. And there are lots of them.
But yeah, the only thing I'm just cautioning against reinventing the wheel or
Right.
accepting that responsibility
Yes.
that we don't have.
I agree,
Yeah.
I agree.
That's all.
I agree. yeah.
Let's get with Carol and Rittenberg. I think there's a wealth of knowledge out there on this topic.
Do you want me to touch base with
Yeah.
you?
Oh,
You're our
absolutely.
guy.
Oh, yeah, you're the guy, you're the guy.
I'll
You
let
gotta
the lights stop.
you gotta coordinate this thing with all the parties, all the interested parties.
But you don't have to build the houses all on
Yeah.
CJ, just get the plans.
I just want the foundation done right.
Well, that's already been done, the foundation.
I don't know
I
that
I
it's
believe
good.
that.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Any other questions, comments of Joe? Okay, moving on. GSCDD board meeting report. Any questions on those? Those, you received them. If there are no questions, we will move on to the ponds work group.
My favorite topic. Take one and pass it on. There's two sheets. The first is the budget for the year that we just passed. 2017
What are we doing here? I guess.
to 18, and the second sheet is 2018 to 19.
Take one, pass the rest.
And I've been asked a couple times in these meetings, did I know where we are money-wise and all that stuff? So the short answer is, I'll wait till the sheets are distributed.
I got two.
Yeah, take one and pass the rest.
Now, one is almost blank, that's the current year budget, 18-19, and the other's got all kind of information you need your spectacles for, and that was the year that just closed out on 2000 and October the 1st. So, as you look at the first sheet, which is almost empty, we have a total budget on the far right-hand top, right side corner is 774,400. That's the budget we're operating on. If you drop down to the first horizontal note, more towards the middle of the page, our carryover balance for ponds, as of October the 1st, is $532,900. So, last year we had 1.4 million, this year we're at,
Yeah, so you say we're operating under, this is not the budget we're operating under, this is last year's budget.
no, this is this year's, as of October 1st.
2018, 2019, on the top.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the 18-19 fiscal year budget.
Yep.
Just so you know.
Yep.
Now, flip this, we're done with this, now flip the next one over. And this says where we ended up last year. And with the same methodology, we had a budget last year of $589,400, the uppermost right-hand number. We spent $1.278 million. So we were $689,000 over budget. And the preponderance of that was on the downspouts, as we knew. And we dipped into the prior floating balance of 1.14 million to get there. So, this is why we are now slowing down the downspouts, and now we're rolling into the next topic of my presentation. But this tells you everything we spent. When you look down the column, if you want to know, what anything cost, it's all there. And I can send it to anyone electronically that wants it. It's public information as far as I'm concerned.
So, to go back, Bob,
Yep.
okay, you're saying the carryover balance is gonna be 432,900 from, I'm going back to the first sheet,
532
or
now.
532,900.
Yep. And we were,
What,
yeah.
yeah, and at 3/118, okay, the carryover was 689,569, is that right?
No, 3/118 was $1,147,256. The carryover from the prior year, entering last year,
Yeah.
we started the year with a surplus of 1.147.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this.
Now we're
then
down
goes
to
the-
532.
Now we're down to 532, and we were expecting it to be around that range.
Mhm.
The only pluses to this is if we ever get anything back from Hurricane Irma.
But that's, you're not talking big numbers.
No, under 100,000.
Huh?
Under 100,000.
100,000. I thought you told me that it was, we only had 60.
We have 68,000 on one, see, I'm still not sure what they put in.
Okay.
I know what I submitted. Some of it was rejected, some of it was accepted, and who knows what the government's gonna do. So we might get something in the future, but I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Mhm.
So, from the waterway management perspective, you have as much information as I do now, but every invoice is reconciled. And we're in pretty firm ground where we are. So now, unless there's any questions on that, I'll be happy to answer. Okay, we started our fish stocking today. So if you're out in some of the ponds, you'll see the trucks with all the state-approved fish. And they should be finished by tomorrow afternoon, if not sooner. Okay, within our packet, you will see a Scott Connell report with photos. And this is the result of our friends in Lennar not building the new homes in Prato and Pistoia to the permit criteria manual without regard to the drainage in the center of the homes that we've been talking about for months and months. This is just the basic stuff of when the downspout comes down, if the house is on a pond, it goes into a double wall pipe and goes to the pond. So I had been out there checking on a number of occasions, and depending on which street I'm on and which homes, there's a randomness to the construction methodology. So because of that randomness, I called Chris Schumacher and said we needed to have Tetra Tech do an analysis to see how the homes are being constructed. He did that, and his summary is the very first page where it says, so far in Pistoia, all units built to
Okay,
date
where,
are
I'm sorry,
tied in.
where's this?
This is in our big packet. One more forward.
We're all over the place.
Yep, sorry about that.
It says construction engineering inspection
Inspection
report.
report.
Yep.
So if you go down to the summary in the bold, Pistoia so far is okay relative to this issue. Prado, there's 12 units that have not been tied in, and there's 5 more units with Lanai. I don't know if the 5 units with Lanai's were built by the residents, which means they'll have to subsequently upgrade it or not, but the extensions do not have the rear gutter tie-in on those 5 Lanai's, and that's gotta be done because that's what's in our manual. But I don't know whether the architectural review committee is even aware of that, so that's one of the things that we have to do it. But so far, this is kind of where we stand. As a result of this, we got a letter back from Lennar saying that they will be in compliance with the permit. You know, big whoop.
Okay, so they're
Should've
gonna
been all
fix
along.
this.
But this, they're gonna fix this.
In compliance with the
Yeah.
manual.
But we gotta keep checking because they're just not reliable
Yeah.
to be robust with it.
Bob, I got a question for you. You
Yeah.
talked about tie-in, rear gutter tie-in. The pipe that's running from the house, from the downspout to your pipe going out to the pond, I'm assuming that's sized for both rear gutters?
Correct.
If you have, okay, so if somebody needs to tie in, it's just hooking into that.
Put in a Y.
Put-
You open it up, you cut it, put in a Y, and then you connect
Okay,
it.
that question will come up. I go to the ACC meetings and I know that'll come
Yeah,
up.
it's not a big change.
No,
It's just that.
It's an easy change.
They gotta do it.
Yeah, okay.
We don't expect to have any real problems with that part of it, it's just getting Lennar to do their job. Bottom line, is watch them and make sure we hold them accountable. Now, I had the caveat that Pistoria was all built correctly, and with respect to the gutters and the downspouts, they are. However, they still have they stopped sodding the lots at a point in time before the ponds, and they have to go back and take all that out and put sod in. And they've agreed to do that. Of course, nobody over there has any idea how that happened. Mr. Caldwell and company, they have no idea why that was done. But, you know, we're pretty well used to this,
Yep.
and that's why we send people out to check everything.
Yep.
So they've agreed to do that too, very, very gracious. The next thing, Palazzo.
Bob,
Oh.
do you see a need at some point for us, you know, there are still things they wanna convey to the district?
We have one,
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have
yeah, yes.
that one piece that we have. Do you see the need to use that to hold their feet to the fire on some of this stuff?
I've asked Tony specifically, and
Yes.
the board, to hold off on that. Right
Yeah.
now, Lennar's not pushing it, don't know why,
Yeah.
but they're not.
Yeah.
I said, but don't buy any more until we actually see them doing what they say they're gonna do at Prado and Pistoia relative to the drainage between the homes.
Yep.
I was hoping kind of use the leverage of the Carena bank issue
Yes.
on the, you know, the homeowners didn't want any part of it, so
Mhm.
we just walked away from that. But that was a clear winner for us, where it cost Lennar money to fix all that. But again, they decided they didn't want the hassle,
Yep.
so be it, I'm okay with that. Palazzo, we have 2 issues in Palazzo recently. The first had to do with irrigation on the Bridgetown side of the berm. The good news is Bridgetown built the berm. The bad news is they put in irrigation, and the irrigation's been running since they put it in. There's a rice paddy between the irrigation and Palazzo, and the water's still running. And it's now in the street, and now it's going from the street into the gutter, and it's gonna silt up our catch basin. Bridgetown Pulte's been made aware of it, the Bridgetown HOA, the contractors, but they're not reacting. So we're just gonna wait until we ever get it reacted. Sooner or later, somebody's gonna turn off the water, and then we'll pay somebody to come in and clean it and send them the bill. But while we were out there on that item, we found our friends Lennar constructing new buildings, and they're doing a process called dewatering, and they put a pump in the ground, and they pump all the water into our sewers, and they just send it across the road with the silt, the sand, and all that stuff. So we sent a bunch of pictures to God and Country. We got responses back from the city of Fort Myers and South Florida Water Management. And apparently that Lennar has been cited for this willful neglect. And they did fix it immediately because the city came out and stood there until they turned the water off. They do have, Lennar does have a permit to do this, but they have to have the socks, they gotta have filters, they have, all the things they didn't do. So, we'll slap their wrist with that, and they will be paying for us to clean the sewers out there. So we'll see where that goes in the future.
Let me just ask you this, are you working on this and the Ponds Work Group out of the goodness of your hearts, or is this really the responsibility of the CED?
Good question. Generally speaking,
Yeah.
we'd like to keep the CDD out of our business.
Yes.
That's the best answer I can give you.
Mhm.
We
But-
take these things
and-
on.
And if you hadn't done it, there
Well,
was
we
no
would,
one else to do
we
it.
wouldn't have done it if we hadn't been alerted by our citizens.
Yes.
We have got our citizens trained.
Yes.
When something has happened.
I agree.
They call, we go.
But if you hadn't done it,
No.
nobody would have done it.
No.
I mean, it would just been a continuing mess.
Absolutely not. They are so messed up over here with the things they've got on their plate with their own ponds. But they just,
Yeah.
now, if you're out there, now, I know Phil, you golf, the pond between the par 3 and the Palazzo homes,
Yes.
if you've seen that pond, it is
Yes.
disgusting.
Yeah.
We've kind of let that go because there weren't any people there, and who cared what the golfers think? But, well, we didn't put a lot of money into it because it didn't matter, but now they're building that building.
Yeah.
So we've had our suppliers out there, the pond maintenance people, we told them, you gotta clean this. It's gotta look as good as any other pond we have. And I've talked to Lampier about it, and we gotta make sure that Lennar puts in sod to the pond.
Mhm.
The golf course did sod about a year and a half ago, their side, which, used to be a weed patch, now it looks pretty good. So we just gotta get the last part done on the Palazzo side, not say not in the next 6 months, and then we'll get that pond up to its pristine shape. And that ought to be in pretty good, condition after that. The other thing that happened with Brick Plaza that I wanted to tell you about is we have been told officially that Bridgetown had a responsibility to build a berm on their side of the conservation area. Because the conservation area behind Viadana flooded. And everybody said, oh, well, that won't happen in the future because there's gonna be a berm over there. So I went with Mr. Schumacher, we went to Bridgetown and we looked at this. And it's just the opposite. It's a total disaster. Their road's way up here, the conservation area is way down here. So I got Tetra Tech, I said, hey, I hear all these good things about what somebody else is gonna do.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what my eyes saw. And we gotta do something. We gotta put somebody on notice to do something. Either that or we're gonna build a Great Wall of China to separate that thing. Because we can't have Viadana get water intrusion in. We just can't allow that to happen. So that is hanging out there. That is a to be resolved. South Florida Water Management shot down any berm on the Viadana side, said that we can't do that. And they're still considering lowering the weir 2 feet, because that's the only weir in the community that's at, I think, 24 feet, and it should be at 22, or it's 22 and it should be at 20, but it's 2 feet higher than anything else we have. So we're trying to get the change to that. And that is a Tetra Tech project, and I have to tell you, I'm very frustrated with the pace of change between, I don't know, it's Nelson or Tyler Wainwright or what, but they're just not moving forcefully on the site. And I keep lighting the fire, so just to be aware of it.
Is that, excuse me, is that a district problem or is that a Lennar problem?
That's a district problem.
That is a district
Yeah,
problem.
That is-
that one is not a Lennar problem at all. The building of that berm and or the lowering of, we don't know if it was a mistake, Nancy, or what, the South Florida. Well, we think they, we don't know. We know what they built, we don't know what they should have built.
But the berm is on our property or? on
Right now, there is
Richmond's?
one berm between the pond and the building of Vietnam.
Right.
But there's nothing to stop all the water coming from the conservation area. And that is what flooded the soil. Because the whole conservation area dumped into the pond went over its berm and flooded the home. So we were told, well, we won't be getting Bridgetown water when they develop over there because they gotta build a berm. but in Senate, it looks like they built a trough. So I don't
The
know,
conservation area though is on our land, that's our conservation.
we
area?
border Bridgetown, it's on, I'm not sure,
Okay, it's on both of them.
yes, we border each side borders. And Pulte built from the extreme end of Palazzo with the cul-de-sac, all the way down, they built the berm all the way up almost to the conservation area. So they did that, that part of it was great, but we gotta have that continued to protect the conservation area, and that's where we're very gray right now. Okay, I'm gonna make a proposal today that we have 4 separate bids to put downspouts in one of 2 communities. We're either gonna put it in Carina on ponds 43, 37, or they'll go into Matarita for ponds 36, 40, and 42. But I'm gonna make a motion today that we approve an amount not to exceed $220,000 to do one or the other of those 2 communities. And that'll probably be the only thing I bring here this year on downspouts, because we only have a $100,000 budget, and I'm gonna spend 100 of my 5 to do that. The reason we're hedging on which one we do, it depends on participation of the HOAs in getting downspouts and gutters put up. If the HOAs are responsive, whoever is the most responsive is the next on our hit list. Eventually, we'll get them all. But whatever HOA says, yep, we want to do this, we'll get our people to do it, then that's where we'll go.
When you say get our people, get.
The homeowners.
The homeowners.
The individual
to approve-
homeowners to put up downspouts and gutters.
Mhm.
Yep, Carina, I'm not sure how that's gonna go. Solaro, we got 99.9% of the homes put downspouts and gutters. We had one homeowner that didn't do it, which I thought was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That exceeded our expectation. So we will be holding meetings over the next couple of months with both the Carina folks involved and with Matarita, and we're gonna tell them, as we've always told them in the president's meeting, whoever, responds first will be the first one that's
So
satisfied.
none of these homes were ever built with gutters and downspouts?
Every community's different, every single one.
The answer to that's, they weren't built with them, it was an option.
The one required. Yeah. Old Pelican was required on 80% of it. New Pelican, not until we got Pareto and Pistoia was it required. So we changed the permit criteria manual, but as they issued permits, some of them got fined. So, I
Are
will make.
the homeowners asked, do you want a gutter? and
When they
downspout
bought?
When you're buying?
Oh, I don't
Yes.
have any idea, but I doubt it.
Yes, I was an
No.
option, and I chose to do it because the gutters to me were important for a lot of reasons. But I know.
I mean, I had gutters and downspouts all in my house.
So did I, but I didn't, it wasn't an option, it was there.
Well, I couldn't remember. I know I would have said
Well,
yes, but
I paid
couldn't remember where that
WCI
asked
for it, I
for.
could have done it probably half the places, I'd done it myself, but, I got them, and I know that there's been a big push in Carina because I live there, to get them done, and I know my neighbors have all had them done now. I don't know a neighbor around me that hasn't had it done. But you'll just work on a percentage, whoever's got the
Yeah.
most percentages.
Absolutely. Doug Zander does that, and he went out and surveyed every home in the community about 2 years ago, so he knew what his baseline was.
Yeah.
And
So if they agree to it, then you're going to pay for. the
Then
connection.
we put everything in the ground,
Yeah.
on homes, on the pond,
Mhm.
on homes, on the pond. Yep, not the flowway, the flowway doesn't get them.
Right.
Because all the flowway water goes to the street. I mean, all the rain off of the homes, on the homes on the flowway, is directed to the street. It does not go directly to the flowway. Again,
Are their
so-
backyards graded to flow towards the house then?
From the downspouts, yes. I don't know about the rest of it. There may be collection agencies in the back where there's a little dip before the berm, and then those go forward, those collection grates. You can walk around back there, it's grates. But by design, that's how it's illegal to go directly from a home into the flowway. So I go back to the motion, P-PAC approves an amount not to exceed $220,000 to the next downspout project neighborhood, whichever that is.
I'll second that.
Seconded. Any further discussion?
You made the motion, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, okay. we get
Bob,
something
made
good.
motion made by Bob, seconded by Joe.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Unanimous to
So we'll take
Genesis.
that motion to the next board meeting, which is December whatever,
Yep,
and, 'cause I don't have any idea when we'll start.
six. Yeah, the next board meeting is in January.
Yeah, and I don't know when, the contract is gonna start.
Yep. Okay.
And that's it. The rear lot drainage inspection I already covered, that's Pistoia. Number 10.
Oh, okay. All right, safety and security work group, we have a number of items I'd like to bring to your attention. Find my notes. First thing is, I think I sent you the information on Dean Groves. We'd like to add him as a member of the committee. He has an excellent background, he's already working on a lot of stuff, he's been kind of, unofficially a member. So I'm going to move that Dean Groves be approved as a member of the Safety and Security Work Group.
I'll second that.
Second that, yeah.
Okay, I moved it, Ron seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes 6-0.
Congratulations, looks like you got a really excellent addition there.
Yeah, he knows his stuff, and he's already working with the city,
That's
some things
wonderful.
which I will report about. The next thing is I'd like to talk about the golf cart regulations. I think I sent you a note on that, and our motion to amend, or our proposal to amend the golf cart regulations to get the golf carts to be driving in the right-hand vehicle lane was defeated because it was a 2-2 vote. Now, I think we've got two issues here, in my opinion. One of them is the issue of where do the golf carts drive. The other issue, and I don't know how we resolve this, the other issue, frankly, is that the board keeps turning down turning down recommendations by this group, by the Social Safety and Security Work Group, supported by the President's Council and the community. And they don't seem to want to pass these things. I had a discussion with Margaret Feinberg after the meeting. She was the one who said to me, you could bring it back so that it's voted on when there are 5 members. And certainly we wouldn't do that unless we found out that Kathy Flaherty was in our court. But I would like what the committee thinks as to should we keep pursuing this thing. I don't want this to be a personal crusade on my part, but I do think we've got an issue here of having the board not passing things that we've strongly recommended. Frankly, as I indicated, it got me a little upset. Your thoughts?
You gotta keep going. It's been what, 18+ months?
Oh,
more
it's been
than-
more than that. It's
Well,
been
I
3
mean,
years.
but
Yeah.
the latest things
Yeah.
have been well over that period of time.
Yep,
That you've gotten the president's group to support it.
yep.
And obviously the subgroup certainly has, we certainly have.
My biggest concern, I ride my bike, and I'm in a bike lane, a golf cart has to pass me in the passenger lane.
Right.
And if they're doing that and not aware of a car behind them, there could be some serious
Exactly.
issues.
That's one of.
I know, and
One of
it's,
the several
it's-
safety things
yeah.
that we're dealing with here.
I experience that a lot, personally.
I think every reason is good for having the golf carts in that driving lane and not in that. In fact, I tried to drive in that 4-foot lane and I kind of pulled to a bit and man, I got in that gutter in my golf. I
Well,
mean,
that's what I'm saying.
now, since I'm a prepared Indianapolis 500 driver, I was able to control it. But no, I think it's more dangerous to try to drive there. And if you're going at the 18 miles an hour that a golf cart can go, somebody that doesn't have really great driving skills could maybe lose it a bit, although I don't know that we've had an accident.
90%
It will throw you.
90% of the people that drive their golf carts in the quote 4-foot lane really aren't in the 4-foot lane.
Right,
They've got
right, they're
two
hanging over
hanging over.
because they don't want to get near the gutter.
Exactly.
Yeah, right, why?
Right. I mean, you have no room to the gutter. You got maybe 2 inches and most people don't
Well,
drive
the
that
golf carts are
street.
4 foot wide and the lane is 4 foot wide,
Yeah.
so there is no.
And only on Pelican Preserve, because Cypress Groves are
It's a little
smaller.
narrower, right.
Well,
So-
if the consensus of this group is that we should pursue this, I would propose to, first place, contact Kathy Flaherty
Well,
and see
you
where
have
she
to.
stands.
You have to.
And if we get a positive response from her, which I'm very hopeful we would, then I think we should bring it up one more time.
But then it still has to, if I remember what you wrote,
Yes.
the board is still, even if they pass it, saying that it, Tony's saying now it has to go to the city.
It has to go to the city. That's it, that's what he's insisting.
Based on this letter.
Letter that
There's
has.
a memo to the file, it's not even
Exactly,
a
right.
letter.
It's not even a letter.
Exactly.
I agree.
Exactly.
But he insists that, you know, it refers to the development order, and that somehow the development order says that that's the way the roads ought to be. I don't think we're gonna have any problems with the city. So I think we ought to just go forward, get the board to do this, and go to the city and get it approved.
Is there any chance that they could force us to make that a wider lane, and then you lose 2 vehicle lanes?
Who's
on
they?
Pelican? The city, if it
Oh.
goes to the city.
I don't think so.
They could do anything
They
they
can
want,
do
I
anything.
guess.
Well, I mean, a golf cart lane has a certain, you know, and if the CDD keeps fighting it,
Well, we're not saying we want the golf carts to be in the lane. We
well,
want them to
I
be in
know.
the traffic
Oh,
lane.
well, I know.
John, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. However, it seems to me that the city should be responsive to what the community wants to do and what the board wants to do.
Can I make a comment? I mean, when I was talking to Bill Porter yesterday about irrigation, other issues came up about Pelican Preserve, because we seem to be his pet community out of all of Fort Myers.
In a positive way or negative?
I would say in a positive way, but he
Okay.
just kind of laughs. Number one, he says, you got too many fingers in the pie. I said, yeah, I would agree with that. Number two, it came up about golf carts. I don't know where that came from, but it was,
Came
he
up.
said, it was always a golf cart community. Originally, it was a golf cart community. That's not what I heard. I heard
No,
it
it
was.
isn't. It was not
became a golf-
officially, it
Well,
was
he-
not officially
he-
a golf cart community.
He said it was
2009.
designed to be a golf cart community. I can't argue. I haven't been
It
here
wasn't.
long enough to know
It certainly
that.
wasn't built that way.
Well, it doesn't seem to be built that way, but he said on the papers it was supposed to be a golf cart community at some time, and I'd heard different. I wasn't gonna argue, but would it be worthwhile talking to Gail Anthony before we do this and just see what
Well,
her
I
thought might be
think,
for the city?
I think it would be worthwhile to get the board to approve going to the city and then talking to Gail Anthony.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you don't get the board to approve it, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Well,
We've spent an awful lot of time on this item.
of course.
Tell me about it.
Much more than we
The
possibly
only
should have.
thing
It's been 5
that
years.
upsets me about the entire process, well, it's a couple things, but the biggest thing is the fact that the board rejected the consensus of what PPAC supported. And that in itself is a standalone troubling item for me,
Yeah.
and just adds to the weight that as soon as we build out, this group get dissolved and be part of the Residents Alliance or whatever our new HOA is.
Mhm.
But having said all
But they end up having the same issue.
that, in my,
I mean,
having said
CDD
that, in
controls
my
the
heart
roads.
of hearts, I do not believe that whichever way this thing ends up is gonna change one person's traffic habits. I don't think it makes a hill of beans difference whether we tell them they gotta be in the bicycle way, or we tell them they don't gotta be in the bicycle way, because nobody's gonna change.
Well, part of the, probably not, but part of the outcome of this, seems to me, is we go back and put those bicycle chevrons
Mm.
in the lane.
Back.
And that, of course, is what started this whole thing, if we go back to that.
And I understand it, but that seems to apply, the only place a bike can be is in there. And here again, I see.
No, we can't tell bikes where to
Well,
drive.
that's my whole point, Phil. We're making a battle when they're in the battle. That's all. That's just I am gonna go with you all the way. I think we're Don Quixote. We're charging windmills, and it won't make any difference to anybody, no matter how this thing ends up, other than people getting hurt feelings over it.
Well, the only thing, the main concern that I have with this, and I guess right now the rules say that golf carts can go either place.
Either place,
And bikes,
Well,
I
no, I
guess.
don't think that's what the rules say.
Yes, they do.
That's
Yes, they
what
do.
we,
They
they say
They
you're supposed
say
to be
they
in the bike
should-
lane.
They say they should travel in the shoulder
Should.
lane,
And that's-
should.
and that's
But it
it.
was intentionally ordered that way, which
Yeah,
means that they're
yeah.
not
So
required.
you gotta be careful. The documents does not say you can go in either place.
No,
It says you should be in quote unquote the shoulder lane or
Right.
whatever.
I'm sorry.
That's what it says.
yeah. Nancy, we cut you off.
Okay, so.
Well, my concern is the first golf cart that goes to make a left-hand turn and gets nailed by somebody flying down the, you know, I've come up and down those streets enough times where you're jockeying with the golf cart about, you know, while we're trying to get over one way or another, and that's dangerous as all get out. And somebody's gonna get hit, and we're, you know, we're the deep pockets when they go to sue.
Bob, I hear what you're saying. I think it will change some patterns somewhat, but not a lot. No, I would agree. But I think we need to provide we need to provide the bicycles with a lane where they are, at least in theory, supposed to be their own.
And the fact that we have the striped lanes to me satisfies that. I might be all wrong, but that's the way I look at it.
Okay.
Say that again?
The fact that we have that little striped lane
Oh.
kind of
I
implies
thought you meant
this is
striped.
where the bike should be.
That's implied.
It's implied.
Yeah,
Don't
but
have the show.
a bicycle making a left-hand turn does have, should get in a left-hand turning lane.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. That's
Okay.
exactly what they
And
should do.
we-
Same thing with the golf carts.
And same with the golf carts.
Absolutely.
I mean, you gotta abide by your traffic regulations.
Absolutely.
And we still have a lot of bicyclers that make their left turn from the bike lane.
Oh, I agree.
We got cars that do that.
It's-
That's all right.
We got cars
We
now.
should have some sort of a guideline for golf cart etiquette. One thing that absolutely upsets me no end is to be driving my car up Cypress Grove and making a right-hand turn onto Pelican and having two golf carts, one in each lane, going 18 miles an hour, and I've gotta go 18 miles an hour. And I'm a little bit more like you, Bob. I like to go the speed limit. I don't go over it, but I do like to go the speed limit. And
That's
there
that
ought to be
way.
something that says.
Ford gave me a
golf
horn
carts
for
should
that, and I
stay.
use it.
Well, golf carts should stay in the lane.
May I suggest that, I think we know where we're gonna try and go with this thing. I think, assuming that we're successful, that we need to publish something. You know, most people obviously have not read the golf cart regulations, and there are things in there that the residents need to know, other than this particular thing, about what some of the requirements are, and I think we ought to probably publish some kind of summarized version of the golf cart regulations if we're successful with this.
Well, can that be accomplished at the same time that golf carts are registered for their annual registration, which is coming up?
That'd be a great time.
Yes,
Just give them a little booklet, this is the rules.
yeah, that's a good idea. And one of the things they need to know is that they're supposed to register them manually, which of course is another
It's
issue.
another issue.
Another issue which we,
So that's an enforcement
We keep-
issue, because there's
that's
some
a-
people that just refuse to do it.
okay. All right, we'll move.
I support you, Phil.
We'll move forward with that. Second item I wanted to bring to your attention, and I think I sent you a note on this, is additional police patrols. We have had more police patrols in here, and they have through the 7th of December, just as a matter of interest, they've given 11 speeding tickets.
Speeding tickets.
Speed tickets, yep, and 1 speed warning. And they've given 8 stop sign warnings. They've given 2 other moving warnings, I don't know what they are. They've given 1 other moving ticket. So we've had a lot going on, and people are beginning to say to me, gee, I've seen the police in here quite a bit. So I think it will have an impact. We believe very strongly it will have an impact, and so that's the reason we are asking you for an additional $2,000 in order to do it. Now, as I mentioned in the memo, which I'll kind of repeat, we have found out that we might be able to use Lee County officers to do this kind of work, the Lee County Sheriff officers. So we may have a mix of Lee County Sheriff officers and.
Who's cheaper?
Hmm?
Who's cheaper?
It looks now like, Don, like the city's a little cheaper, right? But it's not a significant difference.
That's correct. There's a difference. County is charging a $15 vehicle usage fee per 4-hour block. Plus, I think it's about $8 more per hour for a deputy versus Fort Myers. But Fort Myers hasn't given me any new updates on what they're gonna do.
Yeah, part of the problem here, Bob, is that the reason we've gone to this is that we're having problems sometimes getting the Fort Myers police. They don't always have the time. So by perhaps mixing the two forces, we can get the amount of enforcement that we want. And so the difference in cost is not all that significant. So that's the reason we would like to do that.
Well, one of our neighbors told me it's $150 for a rolling stop sign.
Oh, yeah, I think it's 162. So.
That one wasn't me, but I did hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, well, early on, we had one woman who got caught doing it twice.
That's dumb.
You would think that somebody would learn, but
Maybe she's got the
apparently
message
she
now.
didn't. So, I would like to move, that we allot an additional $2,000 to the enforcement, program.
Second.
Second.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed, none?
Yep,
So
no, I'm opposed.
You're opposed?
Yeah.
You are opposed, okay.
He didn't
It
know I had
passes,
no ticket.
it passes 5-1. Okay. Other things from, Safety and Security Work Group. They are going to, I think December 20th and 21st, or 21st and 22nd, are going to be resurfacing Veneto and painting a double yellow stripe on it. Something that, we didn't ask for the resurfacing, but we asked for the stripe. And Lennar is picking up the tab for that. Or I say they're picking up the tab, the town center's picking up the tab for that. So that will be done. Once the,
I think there was some money still in the bond fund for that. I don't think they're being magnanimous.
oh,
No,
okay.
I don't know, they never claimed it.
Well, but I think still some money stayed there, Nancy,
No.
didn't it, for that?
This is not new though, Bob. This is.
No, I know it's not, but in the back of my mind, and I'll defer to Nancy, but I thought there was money for resurfacing of the
It
depot.
was, but it was never claimed, and so when everything collapsed,
Okay,
we're done.
Yeah.
good.
Would you say resurfacing or just putting a sealer on?
No, resurface.
They're actually resurfacing, I
There's some
think.
significant dollars.
They've resurfaced the parking lots and now they're resurfacing.
Well, they repaired the,
I think they're actually resurfaced.
they are gonna resurface it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were resurfaced.
actually resurfaced.
Well,
Now,
then,
once-
Lennar gets an attaboy for paying.
once they have completed that,
Becomes part of the town center operating bill, because who pays for